This pre-application information session is for the OVW fiscal year 2023 Grants to Indian Tribal Governments Program, commonly referred to as the Tribal Governments Program. This solicitation was posted on January 31st, 2023. It is recommended that you have the solicitation with you as you view this pre-application information session. The most important thing you must do before applying is read the solicitation in its entirety. You can find the solicitation along with other valuable resources on OVW's website. Application submission in response to this solicitation will be done through a two-step process. Applicants will submit the SF-424 and the SF-LLL in grants.gov and submit the full application in the Justice Grant System, which is referred to as Just Grants. Potential applicants must have active SAM and grants.gov accounts to be eligible to apply for the solicitation. Therefore, applicants that have never applied for federal funding before should immediately begin the SAM registration process. Applicants that have previously received federal funds should confirm their SAM registration is active and up to date at least 3 weeks before the application's grants.gov due date. Applicants must submit the SF-424 and the SF-LLL in grants.gov by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, February 25th, 2023. The full application package is due in Just Grants by 9:00 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, April 27th, 2023. Minimally, you should watch the application submission training video and download the application submission job aid from the Just Grants website to familiarize yourself with the application process. Additionally, DOJ is hosting virtual Q&A sessions on application mechanics, submitting an application. You can register for one or more of the virtual Q&A sessions from the Just Grants training page linked here, or by going to the main Just Grants website, clicking on trainings, then clicking on virtual Q&A. The OVW Tribal Governments Program has 12 statutory purpose areas designed to enhance tribal responses to domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, stalking, and sex trafficking to increase victim safety and ensure offender accountability. You can find the complete statutory language for the 12 purpose areas on pages 5 and 6 of the solicitation. Activities supported by this program are determined by statute, federal regulations, and OVW policies. If an applicant receives an award, the funded project is bound by this solicitation, the DOJ financial guide, including updates to the financial guide after an award is made, the solicitation companion guide, and the conditions of the award. The Tribal Governments Program is the largest OVW tribal-specific program. Currently, we have nearly 200 tribes and tribal organizations funded through this program, and our annual appropriation is about $48 million. The program is funded by statutory set-asides from 7 OVW grant programs: STOP, Improving Criminal Justice Responses, Rural Legal Assistance for Victims, Transitional Housing, Consolidated Youth, and Justice for Families. Tribes and tribal designees use this funding to support a broad range of activities to ensure victims find safety, justice, and healing, and offenders are held accountable for their crimes. Many tribes are developing and operating culturally informed projects, such as shelter programs, dedicated law enforcement, courts, probation, or prosecution units, legal services for survivors, batterers intervention programming, supervised visitation and exchange programs, prevention and community education campaigns, SANE START programs, development and implementation of tribal codes and policies, law enforcement protocols and training for missing or murdered Indigenous persons cases, and so much more. Here, you see some examples of project types that may be funded through the Tribal Governments Program. This is by no means a comprehensive list of all the activities proposals could include. Some grantees choose to intensely focus their project efforts in one specific area of their tribal government response, and others include activities which touch on multiple parts of their tribal government structure to strategically build capacity to address these crimes. You should assess your current systems and propose your project depending on your tribe's needs. OVW does not fund activities that jeopardize victim safety, that deter or prevent physical or emotional healing for victims, or that allow offenders to escape responsibility for their actions. Applications that propose any such activities may receive a deduction in points during the review process or may be eliminated from consideration entirely. Information on activities that compromise victim safety and recovery or that undermine offender accountability may be found in the Solicitation Companion Guide. Please take the time to review the full list in the Solicitation Companion Guide on the OVW website so that you are not including any of these activities in your proposal or your project should it be funded. Research projects are out of scope and will not be funded. However, you can include up to 3% of the total proposal budget to support internal project evaluation costs. Also, grant funds may not be used to directly address child abuse, child endangerment, or other family violence issues, such as violence perpetrated by a child against a parent or by a sibling against another sibling, or neglect or exploitation. These grant funds may not be used to provide substance abuse treatment services, nor may they be used for education and prevention activities that are not specifically related to domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, sex trafficking, or stalking. This means prevention and education activities on topics such as sexual harassment, bullying, or character building are out of scope and unallowable. Criminal representation of victims charged with crimes is also out of scope, except for representation in post-conviction relief proceedings with respect to the conviction of a victim relating to or arising from domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, or sex trafficking victimization of the victim. Some activities are allowable, but only with prior specific approval. This includes surveys and minor renovations. Minor renovations, including such things as painting, carpeting, or installing lighting, can be included in the proposal budget. However, applicants should be aware that in addition to obtaining OVW approval to use grant funds to support the renovations, recipients must follow all necessary steps to ensure that funded renovations are in compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, and related laws, which may be time-consuming and may include public notice and consultation. All awards will be made as grants, and there is no match required. OVW has the discretion to award grants for greater or lesser amounts than requested and to negotiate the scope of work and budget with applicants prior to awarding a grant. Also, OVW has the discretion to make awards for greater or lesser lengths of time and will negotiate any project activity modifications needed as a result of changes to the estimated award period if necessary. OVW estimates that it will make 60 awards for an estimated $41 million. For FY 2023, this program will accept applications from two types of applicants, new and continuation. New applicants are those that have never received funding through the OVW Tribal Governments Program, or those who may have received funding through the program before, but the most recent award closed before April 30th, 2022. Continuation applicants are those that have a current OVW Tribal Governments Program award or those that may have a recently closed award. Importantly, current grantees with a substantial amount of unobligated funds remaining, which is 50% or more of the current award, as of March 31st, 2023, without adequate justification may not be considered for funding or may receive a reduced award amount if selected for funding in FY 2023. Also, current Tribal Governments Program grantees that received a new 36-month award in FY 2020 have the option to apply non-competitively for up to an additional $600,000 and an additional 24 months to continue the current project. Recipients of an FY 2021 or FY 2022 36-month award under this program are not eligible to apply as the lead applicant on an FY 2023 proposal. For FY 2023, the Tribal Governments Program does not have an award floor or an award ceiling. This program typically makes awards in the range of $500,000 to $1 million for a 36-month project period. FY 2020 award recipients that are applying for non-competitive continuation funding can submit a budget for up to $600,000 for 24 months. OVW has the discretion to make awards for greater or lesser amounts than requested and to negotiate the scope of work and budget with applicants. In FY 2023, the OVW Tribal Governments Program is offering two project types, the standard project type and the Improving Tribal Responses to Violence Against Native Women, or ITR, project type. ITR capacity building applicants will initially engage in a comprehensive assessment process that identifies the strengths and gaps in their community's responses to domestic violence and sexual violence. Following the assessment, a customized project implementation plan will be developed in consultation with an OVW designated technical assistance provider. ITR capacity building projects are intended for applicants who have never received or not recently received an award under the Tribal Governments Program. OVW has the discretion to switch standard project applicants to an ITR capacity building project or vice versa. Eligibility for this program is limited to Indian tribal governments, tribal designees, and tribal consortiums. Each of these terms are defined in the solicitation, and you should take the time to ensure your tribe or organization meets the definition for the entity type you are applying as. Applications received from ineligible entity types will not be considered for funding. All applicants must submit a letter demonstrating the proposal was developed in consultation with a qualified partner. A qualified partner is a nonprofit, non-governmental Indian Victim Services Program, or a tribal domestic violence or sexual assault coalition, or an advisory committee that includes women and survivors from the community to be served by the proposed project. Importantly, tribal governments with a domestic violence sexual assault program must submit a demonstration of collaboration with a qualified partner letter, and the letter cannot identify the tribal government's domestic violence sexual assault program as the qualified partner. The letter must be signed and dated within the solicitation open period and include specific language that appears on page 12 of the solicitation. For all applicants that intend to address purpose area number 8, to provide legal services for victims in the proposed project, the delivery of legal assistance certification must be submitted for an award to be made. The certificate must be in writing, and the specific language for the certifications can be found on page 13 of the solicitation. For applicants that are applying as a tribal designee or a tribal consortium, the tribal designee or consortium applicant must include with its application a tribal resolution or other document demonstrating authority to apply from each tribe or tribal consortium member. The tribal resolution or equivalent documentation must state that the applicant is authorized to submit an application on behalf of the tribe or tribes. It must be current, which means it must be developed within the open period of this solicitation, and it must be signed by the authorized representatives from the applicant organization and tribe or tribes. Applicants that receive funding through this program will be required to engage with certain activities post-award. All grantees must participate in OVW-sponsored training and technical assistance. All grantees must submit semi-annual performance reports and must make advanced determination of individual suitability to interact with minors. Additionally, applicants applying for or assigned to the ITR track must engage with OVW technical assistance providers to complete an assessment and project plan early in the project period. Also, at the end of this 36-month award period, applicants that would like to request an additional 24 months of project activity and funding will be required to participate in technical assistance to assess the current project's progress and prepare to submit applications for the 24-month continuation funding. On this slide, we see the application documents that will comprise a complete application. It is the responsibility of the applicant to ensure that a complete application is submitted by the deadline. Applicants should anticipate the failure to submit an application that contains all of the application components will negatively affect the review of the application and may result in the application not being considered for funding. OVW may not contact applicants for missing items. Some application documents will be automatically generated as a web-based form during the online application process. Some applicants will be pre-populated web-based forms based on data previously entered by the applicant as part of the SAM and grants.gov registration process. Prior to submitting the application, you should carefully review this data for accuracy. Then other documents will be prepared outside of the online system as Word, Excel, PDF, or text documents, and then uploaded to the application in JustGrants as an attachment. In the next few slides, we'll walk through the application components in the order they appear in the solicitation. The first step will be in grants.gov. Here, you will complete the web-based SF424 and the disclosure of lobbying activities, which is also known as the SFLLL form. Both forms are generated when the application is initiated. Just a couple key points for these. First, the amount entered on the estimated funding box should match the amount of federal funding requested in the budget section of the application later on. Also, when you are identifying the authorized representative, this person must be an individual that has the authority to accept grant awards on behalf of the tribe or tribal organization. Some tribes' laws or policies limit this authority to only the highest elected official of the governing body of the tribe, while other tribes have this authority vested in a staff position, such as the chief financial officer or a grant writer. Just make sure whomever you put as the authorized representative has the legal authority under your tribal organization structure to accept the award if one is made. The grants.gov SF424 and SFLLL must be submitted no later than Tuesday, April 25th, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. To be clear, there will be a submit button in grants.gov for these two web-based forms that applicants must select to initiate the application in JustGrants. After submitting these two forms in grants.gov, the applicant will receive an email notification to complete the rest of the application over in JustGrants. The communication between grants.gov, JustGrants, and the applicant is not immediate. It can take 24 hours or more for grants.gov to communicate to JustGrants, so applicants should not expect an immediate email. If the applicant is a new user in JustGrants, the email will include instructions on how to register with JustGrants. To continue with the application process, you will follow the instructions in the email and log into JustGrants. The JustGrants 424 and General Agency Information web forms will be pre-populated based on the information you entered in grants.gov. You will need to confirm the information that transferred over from grants.gov is accurate prior to proceeding through the remainder of the application. Before we get into the meat of the proposal and the application submission in JustGrants, a few tips. In preparing the documents that will be attached to the application in JustGrants, all documents that will be uploaded must be in Microsoft Word, PDF, or text document format. Also, using the sample templates and forms when provided will make your job easier. You can find sample templates for the current and pending OVW projects, current and pending non-OVW federal grants to do the same or similar work, and the letter of non-supplanting, as well as the confidentiality acknowledgement form on the OVW website by selecting how to apply and then resources for applicants. Next, when writing the narrative, use headings and subheadings that correspond to the sections of the narrative as outlined in this solicitation, and don't forget to include page numbers on each page of the narrative. Please do not combine multiple application components into one file. For example, you wouldn't combine the narrative, the document demonstrating authority to apply, the current and pending applications tables, and job descriptions into one attachment because they will be uploaded into different sections during the Just Grants application process. Also, pay attention to the technical requirements on page 14 of the solicitation. Failure to do so can result in points being deducted from your application score and could very well be the difference between receiving funding and not. Any tables or charts included in the application do not have to be double-spaced or 12-point font. However, you must make sure that the font size is not so small that it is too difficult to read for the peer reviewers. File names for attachments should be descriptive, short, and unique. Just Grants will reject attachments with names that are too long or that it recognizes from somewhere else in the application. Here, you can see some examples of file names that could be acceptable. If you have questions about the program's eligibility requirements, allowable activities, application contact, or application submission requirements, please email or join our weekly office hours for this program to speak live with OVW staff. Contact information and instructions on how to join the office hours are on the last slide of this presentation. OVW staff will not be able to help you write your application, but we can answer technical questions, including whether or not specific activities are allowable under this grant program. And finally, give yourself plenty of time to complete the entry of the application, especially if this is your first time submitting an application in Just Grants. If you experience issues with the submission, reach out to our Just Grants support desk for assistance. Their contact information is on the last slide also. The proposal abstract is a short summary of the proposal. It will be entered into a text field in Just Grants and does not have to be double-spaced in the text box. It is not scored, but it will be used throughout the application review process. The proposal narrative is worth 90 points total. This application component will be prepared as a PDF, Word, or text document, then attached in Just Grants. Applicants choosing a standard project type will address 3 sections: the purpose of the proposal, the what will be done section, and the who will implement section. Applicants choosing the ITR capacity building project type will only include the what will be done section in their project narrative. When preparing the document, use the headers and section titles provided and page numbers. Make sure to respond to each item in the section it appears, even if you feel like you've answered the same question elsewhere in the application. Reviewers will score each section independently and cannot use information found in one section to satisfy information required in another section. Address each of the items listed. If something does not apply to you, or you do not have the data requested, state that and provide an explanation. When discussing the purpose of the proposal and your community served, use local data and anecdotal evidence when available. The peer reviewers are subject matter experts and are very familiar with what the national statistics say about domestic violence in tribal communities. What they don't know is what is happening in your community. Tell your story. Now we'll walk through each piece of the proposal narrative. Only applicants choosing a standard project type will complete the purpose of the proposal section of the proposal narrative. This section is worth up to 15 points. This is where you will describe your community, discuss the challenges or needs your community is facing, and also specifically identify the statutory purpose areas your proposal is addressing. You can find the statutory purpose areas listed in the solicitation on pages 4 and 5. The what will be done section is worth 60 points for standard project type applicants and 90 points for ITR applicants. This is the meat of the proposal. If you are proposing a standard project, first, discuss how the project will address the challenges or needs you identified in the previous section. Then present your goals, objectives, activities, tasks, and if applicable, any project products or deliverables that will be produced. You can present the goals and objectives and activities in a chart or table format if it is clearer or easier to do it that way. The project goals and objectives must be easily linked to one or more of the purpose areas on pages 4 and 5 of the solicitation, as well as one or more of the challenges or needs you identified in the purpose of the proposal section above. If you are requesting the ITR project type, respond to the 6 questions on page 17 under the what will be done. This is for the ITR capacity building projects only. For both the standard project types and the ITR project types, participation in OVW training and technical assistance should be included as an activity under one or more of your goals. The Who Will Implement section will be submitted by applicants for a standard project and is worth 15 points. In this section, you will identify the key individuals and organizations involved in the proposed project, demonstrate they have the capacity to address the needs and can successfully implement the project, identify the qualified partner, and describe your and your partner's expertise in the areas of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, sex trafficking, and stalking. You should attach job descriptions for all key personnel and positions that will be created by or paid for with grant funds if you have them readily available. This includes regular, contract, and consultant positions. Job descriptions should be combined into one file and uploaded as a supporting attachment and will not be counted toward the 25-page total for the project narrative. If they're not readily available, they can be submitted post-award if the application is selected for funding. The budget worksheet and budget narrative is worth 10 points. OVW strongly encourages the use of a spreadsheet like Excel or Numbers to prepare the budget detail worksheet, then attach that document in Just Grants in the budget section of the application. There is no minimum or maximum budget amount for new and continuation applicants, but project budget worksheets should be reasonable and detailed and based on the resources needed to implement the proposed project in your specific geographic location. For applicants located in the lower 48, the budget must include $30,000 in the travel category for OVW TTA. And for applicants located in Alaska, the budget must include $35,000 in the travel category for OVW TTA. That set aside amount is for the entire 36 months, not per year. This amount can be in the budget travel line as a lump sum amount called OVW approved training and technical assistance. Applicants also may budget expenses in excess of the required amount if they are aware of relevant non-OVW sponsored conferences or training for which they would like permission to use grant funds to support staff or project partner attendance. For FY 2020 grantees, choosing to apply for the non-competitive option can submit a budget detail worksheet for up to $600,000 for 24 months. All applicants should include sufficient funds to fully provide language access or describe other resources available to ensure meaningful access to grant-funded services for persons who are limited in their English proficiency, who are deaf or hard of hearing, or individuals with disabilities. The next couple of slides, I'm going to focus on aspects of your application that relate to the documents that our financial team, the Grants Financial Management Division, or GFMD, reviews. More specifically, I'll discuss some items that GFMD has identified from prior year applications that could help with expediting our review process. First, I'll go over the pre-award risk assessment, then touch on the summary data sheet, and finally provide you with a link to a detailed webinar on how to develop the budget that will be included in your application and some contact information should you have questions on any of these required documents for our financial team or the budget development. Both of these documents should be prepared as a Word, PDF, or text document, then attached in the proposal narrative section of the application. So first, I'll highlight the pre-award risk assessment survey, which assists GFMD during their pre-award risk assessment review for all applications. Each applicant must prepare a response to all 11 questions, and each question has multiple parts. We've noticed from prior years that applicants do not always fully answer all parts of the question, which in turn requires GFMD to reach out to the applicant which may delay award recommendations. Some of the most common issues that we've seen have been, for example, question number 2, where the applicant indicates that they do indeed have internal policies, but then they don't provide a brief list of the topics covered in the policies and procedures. Another example of an incomplete response would be on question number 3, where the applicant does not provide a brief summary of the organization's process for tracking expenditures, and more specifically, whether or not it tracks budgeted versus actual expenditures. So these are just a couple examples, but basically, please make sure you read each piece of the question and provide a full and comprehensive response. Understandably, the individual that is best suited to provide answers to these types of financial questions may not be the same person that is writing or submitting this grant application. If that's the case, you could provide a copy of the questions from the solicitation to the individual that is best suited to answer them, so that the responses can be prepared in advance and then attached to the document in the application in JustGrants in the appropriate section during the application submission. Next, let's look at the items identified in the summary data sheet, which is completed by all applicants. Let's look at the question regarding the single audit. OVW requests that all applicants provide a statement as to whether they have expended $750,000 or more in federal funds during their last fiscal year. If they have, then they indicate that and also specify the end date of their last fiscal year. However, GFMD is finding that applicants do not always include this information and leave out whether or not they have met that threshold, or the end date of the last fiscal year is not included. Again, please ensure all questions from the summary data sheet are responded to. If something does not apply to your tribe or organization, do not skip the question or just leave it blank. Respond to the question by specifically stating, this does not apply to the XYZ organization, and then move on to the next question. On this slide, I will quickly highlight some resources that are available to help you create the budget to be submitted with the application. GFMD has worked to develop a detailed webinar presentation on developing a budget to be submitted with OVW applications. They want to help reduce any challenges you may face with the budget and make it clear what they look for when they review your budget. This webinar provides some insight as to what OVW financial staff considers during their review. The webinar can be found at the link here, or you can find it under the budget information section on the OVW resources for applicants page. Finally, financial resources you might find helpful are the uniform guidance, which can be found at 2 CFR 200, the DOJ financial guide, and of course, this program solicitation. We know this can be a lot of information to process. So if you have any questions about the GFMD information discussed, please feel free to contact the GFMD help desk. Their contact information is here and on the last slide of this presentation. This requirement only applies to tribal designees or tribal consortiums. It does not apply to a tribe applying for funding on their own behalf. The document demonstrating authority to apply will be prepared as a Word, PDF, or text document, and then attached to the application in JustGrants. It is not scored. However, applications from entities applying as a tribal designee or tribal consortium without this document will be removed from consideration prior to peer review. This document can be in the form of a tribal resolution or a letter on tribal letterhead signed by the chief executive of the governing body of the tribe. The document should be current and developed within the solicitation open period. As previously mentioned, you can find sample templates for the letter of non-supplanting and the tables for the applicant disclosure of duplication and cost items, along with the form to print and sign for the confidentiality notice on the OVW website under how to apply. Both the disclosure of lobbying activities and DOJ standard assurances are pre-populated forms within JustGrants. Please read this section of the solicitation carefully, beginning on page 27 of the solicitation. The FY23 application submission process is new for some, and there are significant differences from how it used to be done. To best prepare to be successful in submitting a proposal, it will be important to plan ahead, to not procrastinate until the last few days before the proposal is due, to review the training resources available on Just Grants, including viewing or participating in the application submission webinars, and most significantly, to reach out for assistance to OVW Just Grants support desk early if you are experiencing technical issues. Applicants experiencing Just Grants technical issues should ensure that they are continuing to develop the proposal while they are working with OVW Just Grants support desk to address any issues. Applicants must follow the solicitation guidance regarding technical difficulties. Be sure to keep documentation that you did follow the guidance. This will enable you to submit a full proposal by the deadline using an alternate method if necessary. OVW will take the necessary steps to ensure that applicants are able to submit their applications on time, and will update our submission guidance as necessary and as the due date nears. Some steps, such as registering with the System for Award Management, or SAM, or grants.gov, may take several days or even weeks to complete. There is no way to speed up these registration processes. Therefore, we recommend applicants confirm their registrations are current or begin their registration as soon as possible, but no later than the date suggested in the solicitation. It is the responsibility of the applicant to ensure that they are properly registered with SAM, grants.gov, and Just Grants. Finally, to reiterate, applications must be initiated in grants.gov no later than Tuesday, April 25th, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. And the full application package must be submitted in Just Grants no later than Thursday, April 27th, 2023 at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Applications submitted after that time will not be considered for funding. Submitting the application components at least 48 hours before each deadline will enable applicants to receive notice if the submission failed and provide an opportunity to correct the error before the deadline. If you have programmatic questions after reviewing the solicitation in full, such as whether your entity is eligible to apply or if a particular activity is allowable under this program, please email your question to the ovw.tribalaffairs@USDOJ mailbox. That's ovw.tribalaffairs@usdoj.gov. You can also join our live office hours and speak directly with an OVW grant management specialist every Wednesday from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time while the solicitation is open. From your computer, just click the Join Microsoft Teams meeting link on this slide, which will open your browser and take you to the meeting where you can join as a guest. Or you can call in to the Teams meeting using that phone number and conference ID. If you have financial questions, contact the OVW Grants Financial Management Division by emailing ovw.gfmd@usdoj.gov or call them at 888-514-8556. If you need technical assistance with grants.gov, as you are working on the first stage of the application submission, please contact the grants.gov applicant support line by emailing support@grants.gov. That's support, SUPPORT, @grants.gov, or call them at 800-518-4726. If you need technical assistance with Just Grants as you are submitting your application package in Just Grants, please contact the OVW Just Grants support desk by emailing ovw.justgrantsupport@usdoj.gov. That's ovw.justgrants TSUPPORT@usdoj.gov or call them at 866-655-4482. This concludes the FY 2023 Tribal Governments Program Pre-Application Information Session.